Now we're moving to the discussion segment. I told you it's going to be interesting here. So, today, what are we looking at? We're looking at the African Union. We're looking at an initiative of the African Union that is actually bringing a lot of change across the continent and is actually transforming the lives of the youth. I'm talking about the African Youth Charter Hustlers Initiative. And for short, you can call them AYUC or AUYCH. Basically, it's actually a flagship initiative that is being spearheaded by the AU Office of the Youth Envoy, and they have support from the Youth Division of the African Union Department of Human Resources, Science and Technology. They are looking at mobilizing the African youth to lead continental, regional, and national advocacy for the ratification and implementation of the Charter, as well as the institution of effective monitoring and reporting mechanisms. Look, we find and look at ways in which we can bring about transformation. And we always say that the youth are more like the next generation. They're like the powerhouse of a nation, of any continent, of any country. And I'm so happy that the African Union Youth Envoy has such an amazing initiative going on, and they have reps across various African countries. Now, joining me today, aside my co host on the line, via Zoom, we have Sarpong Hammond Antwi, and he happens to be an African Union Youth Charter Hustler Initiative. He is actually the rep for Ghana, and we also have an African Union Youth Charter Hustler. Her name is Grace Dankwa. So we're going to have both of them talking to us and explaining to us. Let's understand basically what is happening here. So, hello, Hammond.
Hello, good afternoon. I
Good
believe you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. How are you doing, please?
Not bad. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm enjoying it this while.
Pardon?
That I've been enjoying the show all this while at the background.
Well, thank you so much for joining the show. Hello, Grace.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm blessed. Okay, so without wasting much time, I'd like us to jump into it. I mean, I believe our audience are very much interested. What is the African Youth Charter Hustlers Initiative about? Grace, I'd like
Okay,
to start
so
with
this
you.
initiative, yeah. So I was saying, this initiative came up and the advocacy model of the African Youth Envoy Action Plan, African Union Youth Envoy Action Plan 2019-2020. That was the chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Mafaki. And as you said, this initiative seeks to mobilize young people to lead continental, regional, and national advocacy for the ratification and implementation of the African Youth Charter. It's spearheaded by the African Union Office of the Youth Envoy. And basically, there are two hustlers per country, one male, one female, boy per 2 years. So for Ghana, myself, I'm that.
Okay.
And basically, the continental instrument that this initiative is promoting is the African Youth Charter, which is a rights-based framework that guides engagement and empowerment of young people in Africa. So it contains our freedoms, it outlines our rights, it also has our duties and since then it has guided continental programming, as most recently seen in the African Plan of Action for Youth Empowerment. We notice that Africa has a very youthful population. Approximately 75% of the population of our continent is below 35 years. That is youthful. And so I feel it's good that the African Union has prioritized youth empowerment as key to realize the vision of 2060. And so I find this initiative very amazing because it empowers youth to own their own thoughts. It is youth-led accountability, it is youth-led advocacy, and it ensures results on continental commitment.
Well, that's a very amazing task and interesting one, looking at a lot of work to be done to bring about transformation. So I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
as a youth charter hustler, as a hustler, if I can put it as a hustler, what specifically are
Yeah, as
your
a hustler.
roles? Because you said two of you are assigned to each country. So you and Hammond for Ghana. So what specifically are your roles?
Okay, so uh, let me speak generally for all hustlers and then would narrow it down.
Yeah.
So for all hustlers, our main roles or our main is to action and promote Africa's model. So for the advocating action part, we will be actively advocating for the ratification of the Youth Charter in countries that are yet to ratify us, about 16 of them. And then we'll also be actively advocating for the implementation of the Youth Charter in countries that have ratified or signed. So Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
we've done that already. So our task for Hammond and I
Mm-hmm.
will be to push for it so that it's actually implemented in the country to the fullest. And we would also be advocating for the implementation of the African Plan of Action for Youth Employment, the Youth Employment, sorry. And we'll also be promoting Pan-Africanism, Agenda 2063, African solidarity, intergenerational leadership, and we'll also be promoting knowledge sharing of best practices across the continent, to promoting policy formulation to increase engagement. And basically, we'll be doing all of this, working closely with the African Union to ensure that we deliver on these mandates. So that's what we are about, really.
Well, thank you. That looks like a lot of advocacy. That's a lot of putting things out there to get people on board and to get people to understand. Now, we're moving on to Hammond, who actually is a Ghanaian but is in Ireland. So, hello, Hammond. Hello, Hammond.
Hello.
Yes. So, you happen to be the rep for Ghana for the African Union Youth Charter Hustlers. One thing I want to say, what is the
Right.
state of Ghana when it comes to implementing the charter and other continental instruments for the youth?
All right. Thank you. So Ghana considerably has done a lot of good work when it comes to youth engagement and youth involvement. But as we always say, there is more room for improvement. So we're one of the first countries to rectify the youth charter. And as part of our mandate, what we want to do is to engage with all stakeholders who are involved with youth work in the country. We want to find out what they've done, what is left to be done, their aspirations and their long-term visions. And then based on that consultation, we can create tangible and sustainable programs and projects that can meet the needs of the younger generation in the country, and then as a reflection to other African countries, because most African countries, believe me, look up to Ghana when it comes to most of the AU instruments. So we need to get it right, and the best way to get it right is to engage with these stakeholders and find out what they've done. But I believe if you look at the current state of affairs, especially when you take the working document of the National Youth Authority, they are having a lot of youth focus engagement and program of action. So we look forward to building up on what is on the ground or what has been done already so that we can create more avenues and opportunities for the youth. And as Grace mentioned, it's primarily advocacy that we'll be doing. So we might be doing basically tangible programs and projects, but the overarching goal, if I may say, is to advocate more for the young people to be given the chance to be in leadership. Not only that, to be forerunners when it comes to environmental issues, economic issues, state of security, health, and all other facets of society as far as the youth are concerned. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That basically we're seeing a new change. It's more like bringing young energy or bringing young blood to actually the forefront of the developmental race. Now, so since you have been given a mission as the rep for Ghana, what do you hope to be able to achieve at the end of your mission?
Yes, that's a good question, and individually, I would say I hope to achieve a lot. But as you know, when we are working in a team, and more especially dealing with a continental body like the African Union, where a lot of meetings and, for that matter, agreements needs to go on before you can get an action in place. I want to just lower my expectations and not to blow myself up. But then in the meantime, as I rightly said, based on the consultations that we'll be having, that will inform us on the clear-cut path we want to take. But then we look forward to having more engagement with young people at various schools and at workplaces. We look forward to giving young people the opportunity to be part of youth-related programs and actions and policies by government. So as part of our advocacy, we want to see more young people taking charge of initiatives on the continent. And if you look at the African Global Radio, for instance, you have young people presenting, and if you sit back, if you don't see the visuals, you tend to think these are some well experienced or aged presenters, but you find out that it's young people doing the magic on the airwaves. And so you can realize that when you give young people the chance, wherever, anytime, any day, they can deliver. And that is what we want to see. We want to just, by the time we finish our 2 years, see more young people doing magic. Definitely. Anywhere, anytime. Yeah.
Definitely. So the magic is what we bring to the table, and that's basically what you have told us. Now, if somebody is interested, Hammond, if someone wants to say, okay, I've listened, I want to join, I want to become a hustler, an AU hustler, how do they get in touch? How do they join? How do they become part of this?
All right, so we operate an open door policy, and then we are flexible. And with COVID and the limitations on meeting physically, you can reach out to us via social media. You can send me an email on Sarpong1. So Sarpong1@gmail.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook, Sarpong Hammond, the same name on LinkedIn, and then on Twitter. You can find me on the hashtag or using the handle sh_Antwi. So you can send me a message on any youth-related issue anytime, any day. And alternatively, because I'm not in Ghana, it will be difficult to get in touch with me directly on phone, but you can WhatsApp me on 02436590. And then I encourage more young people to reach out. There are a lot of people with interesting ideas and perspectives when it comes to issues of youth involvement and engagement. So don't feel shy. We are like you. We are also young people just leading change, not because we are better than you, but because we've had the opportunity. So get in touch with us. Let's stay interactive, formally and informally. As I said, we operate an open door policy, so it shouldn't be that formal to reach out to us. And then you should see us as colleagues and not as some big men in quotes, I should say. So feel free with your thoughts and ideas via social media, get in touch, and then we'll respond accordingly.
Okay, so let me also take Grace. Hello, Grace.
Yes.
Okay, so
hello.
Yeah, so before.
So you can get in touch. You can get in touch with me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. The name is Grace Dankwa for all of them.
Okay.
And you can also get in touch with me via email, gaDankwa@email.com. And you could also swap the hashtags AYCH2020, that's African Youth Charter hashtag 2020, and then also hashtag Africa Youth Lead. And then if you would like more information on the entire program, you can go to auyouth.org/AYCH to learn more.
Okay, so before I let both of you go, I have my co-hosts in the house with me, and they would like to, ask some questions, very brief questions before I let you go. So let's start with Grace, and my colleague Mamiaba has a question for you.
Hi, Grace.
Hello, Mamiaba.
Okay, so according to the article, I read an article, right? And it stated that one of the missions of the African Youth Charter Hustlers Initiative is to hustle for accountability. Yeah. Could you please elaborate on that?
Yeah. Yes. So by hustling for accountability, it means that, when we got into this commitment, right, like the African Youth Charter, it's a commitment that we signed on to as a country. Mm-hmm. And so we have leaders that got us there, leaders that are in positions to see that it is implemented. And so the accountability part comes in where we as hustlers get to those leaders, get to those stakeholders, and make sure that it is done. What is supposed to be done is implemented, and we get feedback, real-time feedback, what is happening. So that's what the accountability thing is all about.
Okay. And one last question. Do you have plans of extending the accountability to governments of nations on the continent?
Well, our focus is on Africa, as in is on Ghana, but
Okay.
we are going to definitely help our fellow hustlers across other countries as and when we can.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mort. So I'm gonna go to Hafiz, but Hafiz, you're gonna direct your question to Hammond. So thank you so much, Grace. So Hafiz,
Yes, Hammond, can you hear me, Mr. Hammond?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Okay, my question is simple. I mean, in terms of advocacy and reaching out, I mean,
Mm.
what are some of the challenges you encounter nowadays? Uh, Seeing that, I mean, normal life as you know it has been turned on its head, what are some of the challenges you encounter, especially in the pandemic we are faced with?
Well, I wouldn't say challenge, but I would rather say there's been a lot of opportunities because hitherto it was difficult to have 3 or 4 people join you in a meeting physically. But now with COVID and restrictions, with a Zoom link, you can get many people joining and then you can talk virtually or undertake events and programs virtually. So instead of looking at it as a problem, I see it as an opportunity. And then I was reading a report recently about internet penetration in Africa, and it's growing by over 50% in the last 2 years. So that means you have a lot of Africans with access to internet, and then you can communicate to people, talk to them anytime, anywhere, any day via the use of social media and other virtual platforms. So it has made our work quite diverse and not to say easy, but far-reaching, so to say, because now you can get to meet different people all over the world at once with a click of a button on Zoom or any other platform that you use. And so in looking forward to what we'll be doing in Ghana, we look forward to reaching more young people. And as I earlier on stated, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, you can get in touch with me. I might not necessarily have to be in Ghana before we can talk, or I might not have to be present in a meeting before we can find a solution to a particular youth-related problem. So that means we can use the advent of the internet and social media to communicate, which makes it quite interesting and more advanced to me.
Okay.
well, moving on to Barry.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. Thank you very much, Happy. And of
Mm.
course, thank you guys for joining us as well and for throwing more light and shedding your knowledge with us. I have 2 questions, one to Hammond and one to Grace. First of all, to Grace, you made mention of Agenda 23. Could you just throw a bit of light on that one?
Agenda 2063.
Oh, 2063. Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay. All right. All
yes.
right. All right.
So basically, Agenda 2063 is just it's a blueprint, okay, a blueprint with the aim of transforming Africa to a global powerhouse,
Right.
kind of.
Okay. Right. Okay. Fine. Now, Hammond, I would like to find out. I mean, taking Ghana into consideration, I mean, since you are actually hustlers repping Ghana out there,
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of, I mean, youth advocacy group over the years, okay, looking for accountability, opportunities, a seat at the table generally. What is it that this African Union initiative is going to do differently this time to actually get the voices of the youth heard?
Okay. I think what we're gonna do differently, so to say, is to consolidate all these voices and all these activities that are being done by the packet of youth groups we find in the country. So we say with one voice, we echo louder than single individual voices. So what we look forward to doing primarily is to bring all these youth groups and these voices together so we can champion particular causes with straight aims and objectives. So as to say, if you leave people to do things at their own pace, sometimes you don't get the needed results. But when we come together, we can push forward towards the solution that we all desire. So whilst we are advocating, we'll be looking forward to forming partnership and then solidarity with other groups so that we can drive forward the common goals and objectives. Because if you take Ghana specifically as a case study, the problems that the youth in Upper West and Accra face are not too different, although there might be dynamics. So the best way is to bring the youth group in Volta region, in Upper East, Upper West, in Kumasi and Accra together to think sustainably, not just to come and talk about what they are doing, but to forge a common path and a sustainable solution to the common problems we have as youth in Ghana. So that is what we are going to do differently, bringing everyone together. And I must recognize that there's already a lot of work being done by most of these youth groups and organizations. I think government machineries are doing their possible best. The way forward is to bring everybody on board, forge a common aim and objective, and push forward towards the overarching goal of youth involvement and engagement.
Right, fair enough. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so thank you guys. And then a big thank you to Grace and to Hammond for joining us, for making time, and for shedding
Yes,
more
and
light.
yeah, before I finally leave, I need to extend an arm of gratitude to you and to the entire station for the wonderful job being done. And then we look forward to similar opportunities in future. And as we progress with work and mandate, we'll be coming back to you again for such a precious time to tell the world about what we are doing. So
Definitely. Thank
keep the
you too.
fire up, and we respect what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you too, and keep the mission ablaze. Have a nice day. Thank you so much, Grace and Hammond. Well, I told you it was going to be an interesting and a different discussion zone today, and you've heard it all. So, if you had no idea about the African Union Youth Charter Hustlers Initiative, now you know, and you know that I mean. They've spoken extensively on it, but I love the way they engage in the youth. I love the fact that they're being given the mandate into the whole advocacy thing. It's like I said, it's like bringing your young blood to the forefront of this whole development thing. It tells you that their efforts have been recognized. They've seen that the youth is actually a vital component when it comes to development of a nation, of a continent, and I'm very, very happy. So I still have my co-host with me in the studio, Hafiz.
Evie.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing they've shed light on what they are about. Before now, I think lots of us didn't exactly know they existed, much less to know what they're actually into.
Yeah.
And the term hustlers, I think it created some sort of confusion. Even anyway, but I'm glad that is out of the way. But just to touch a little bit on everything he said, I think they've elaborated on a few things. But then I think speaking on the youth, one common argument that is used to deny the youth a seat at the table usually is that the use of the term youthful exuberance, which is used to connote recklessness, inexperience, if you like. And it has always been used that you don't deserve a seat there because, I mean, you still have a lot to learn. You're still learning the ropes, so you don't exactly fit the profile of a leader. And I'm glad, I mean, this sort of initiative, this sort of is changing that dynamic, it's changing that sort of thought. And it's good to see the youth at the forefront. I mean, we've proven time and time again that when given the opportunity, when given the space to operate, we have our own way of thinking and bringing some refreshing perspectives to the table. Anyway.
Thank you, Barry.
Yeah, I am very happy about this particular initiative. You know, when we see a bigger body such as the African Union takes much interest in the development of the youth, also the potential of the youth, what they can do to contribute to making Africa, great as it was before. I think for me it's a laudable thing to do. Like I said, I mean, we've seen a number of advocacy groups over the years, and still a lot are still, springing up.
Yeah.
All they are looking out to do is to get their voices out there. And I think those who are already in the realms of affairs started off as being like us, like the youth, okay? Not until, I mean, fast forward, they're where they are today. And they've actually gathered a number of experiences from where they've been to, places they've worked with, whoever they've interacted with, and now they're here today. But then they will not be there forever.
Yeah.
Some generations would have to come take over. So if you don't start grooming us today, when will that be happening? So I think it's a very great initiative. I remember watching an interview of Michael Quaid Jr., the ambassador to India. Is it High Commissioner or ambassador to India? And so he said he saw that role, that ambassadorial role to representing your country in another country as a role meant for, the older folks. But he got there, he saw high commissioners, ambassadors of different countries, some as young as 30, 35, 40. Like, I thought, well, yeah. I mean, my dad used to work for the Tanzanian High Commissioner. The guy, General Selassie Mayunga was like 670. We used to call him Dada. He had all white hair and stuff. So you're like, it's kind of like the picture. If this person is not that old, he cannot do the job. But I think, like I say, charity begins at home. So you need to study these things, learn, get empowered, and be entrusted with that particular mandate. And I believe the youth, with the potential that we have, we will definitely deliver. Yeah.
Barry, where do you think we get this whole idea of, if you aren't old enough, you have nothing to
I
contribute?
think it stems from our home upbringing in Africa, our culture. I think it's coming from a good place, okay?
But does
Not
that
to
necessarily mean
disrespect.
doesn't mean that when you are old you are necessarily by default you are wise?
No. Well,
Is that it?
to some extent, it varies. To some extent, it may be. Not all the time. It doesn't apply that way. It doesn't apply all the time, okay? To some extent, the older you get, the more experience you get in certain things in life, okay? And it's subjective, frankly. But I don't think the fact that you're old, no, I don't think so.
Age doesn't connote wisdom. You have older folks who are not.
And why is that?
No hard feelings.
Why age doesn't connote wisdom?
Yes.
Well, I think it depends on. Some people pick lessons from experience. Some people just go on living. You see, it's about what you're made of, how you think, and how you see things. The fact that you're old does not mean you're necessarily wise.
There are exceptional individuals who've got certain kind of way of thinking. That's also another thing that can be considered as well. But,
Okay, so Mariaba,
Hey.
final words.
This is another one of those meaningful platforms to bring the youth together to drive change in their environment.
Yeah.
And one of the missions I am personally psyched and pumped about is the hustle for accountability.
Yeah.
Because accountability is a problem that we see here in Africa. I think it's around the world, basically, where governments do what they want when they want, and nobody's asking them anything. You see the opposition try to talk about it, but it doesn't do anything in the long run. So
that's true.
that is one of the missions I am pumped about, and hopefully we are able to get our government to become accountable through this initiative, especially since the youth of today have become more enlightened in the things that are happening around them, and we want answers to everything that happens. So I'm hoping the accountability part will be seen through, and it will bring about a lot of change.
Okay, so I think we should sign you up next 2 years when by the time Hammond and Grace's
down.
term is, by the time their mission.
Yes, and I think
it's a hustlers thing,
and I think the whole hustlers thing was a way to grab the attention of the youth.
Guy wants to be a hustler, for God's sake. What do you think?
Because these days everybody's talking about the hustle and the hustle and the hustle.
Okay, so we're still hustling on the show. Thank you guys so much for joining me for the discussion zone. And don't forget, you can always head over to YouTube, Africa Global Radio, and you can always listen to your favorite part of the show. And don't forget, the podcast is there. So head over to our website, www.africaglobalradio.com, and listen to Africa Daily on demand.